Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor. I want to start with this this tweet here because this is important, and this is not to say anything bad about any of these companies that are starting to offer yield on XRP, but this is where I am, and I want to make sure everybody understands it. I don't care if you're trying to get yield on your XRP or if somebody's trying to get you to borrow against your XRP or lend your XRP out, or if somebody's wanting you to put XRP in a fund. You need to understand your risks. I keep saying this because this is also new. It's important that you think about your risks. Most people are thinking about the percentage yield right on the front end, but you've got to think about your risks. This is a good tweet that was put out by Vincent Van Code. And he's talking about a specific one. I'm not even going to mention, it's not about that for me. It doesn't matter who it is. Most of these, they're probably legit. I'm not saying at all that they're not. I'm just saying you need to understand what the risks are. 1, risk. All investments carry risk. 2, return. What and how is it returned? 3, compliance. Are they? And if not, what are the risks? How might it impact your DeFi token if negative news item is published? Adult audit and transparency, attestations, custody, securities laws. Are they just skirting the laws via DeFi, or are they just not yet compliant? 6, ISO 27001 SOS 2 externally audited. Goes a long way to ensuring they don't get hacked. 7, how are they getting exposure to the real world asset? Custody, promise, effort of others, index, future, etc. You got to think about all these things. You got to get documentation before you put your XRP in any of this stuff. And I personally want a diagram showing me exactly where yield comes from, or if I'm lending, if I'm borrowing against my XRP, exactly what are the risks? Where's that XRP? What are the risks involved? If I'm putting my XRP into a fund, which I would never do, but if I'm putting it into a fund, what's being done with that XRP once it's in the fund? And somebody's going to have to, I don't care what it is, I'm going to have to be able to see a diagram on this stuff. So like I keep telling you, in the meantime, I am only focused on keeping my XRP safe. And one of the places I do it is with my partner, iTrustCapital. And they have free institutional grade custody there. And I have IRA, and I also have IRAs, and I also have the premium custody account. If you're like me and you're just not, you hadn't seen enough about the risks and all of that stuff, and you're focused on protecting your XRP while we get legislation and the market matures and all that, like I'm doing, you can go to iTrustCapital.com/XRP Army. It'll take you right to my page here on iTrustCapital, and you can get a promo code, $200 funding bonus. The market's kind of picked up a little bit, nothing much. It had pulled back and it's flat right now. Look at this Bitcoin Telegraph is at it again. I mean, this is a spin if I've ever seen one. Inside, XRP is more likely to see profit taking than a price surge due to new ETFs. While Polymarket odds favor Solana, Bitcoin, Ethereum, imagine that, hitting new highs this year. Bitcoin Telegraph at it again. Crypto millionaires rose 40% in 2025 to 241,700, with 36 billionaires. Let me see, there's a chart right there. Centimillionaires. There's going to be a lot more of those, folks. Here's Mike Novogratz on the markets.
The sell-off and the volatility that we have seen. How do you explain it?
Yeah, listen, there are a few things that happened. One, crypto had a pretty awesome few months, right? I mean, Ethereum went up almost 3x. Solana went up a ton. And so markets at one point get a little bit long, and it takes just a little bit for people to get nervous and some of the leverage to come out. We saw what looked like some big Chinese mining selling. You also had, Arthur Hayes, who's one of the real thought leaders around crypto. He put out a pretty bearish commentary around Hyperliquid. Hyperliquid is the only token in the top 10 that didn't exist a few years ago, right?
I'm sure it's a VC token. There's a reason these guys are all talking about it.
It's a decentralized version of Binance, if you want to think about it. And it's a pretty spectacular story with the amount of growth it had. And Arthur said,
yeah, anytime he's talking about a spectacular story, that means that him and his buddies are somewhere in the mix getting allotted a bunch of tokens.
hey, wait a minute, I think it's gone too far. The founders are going to sell. And so Hyperliquid really got hit the hardest, and that, I think, kind of hit some of the overall sentiment in the market. And so I think this is just a pullback. Crypto has been kind of soft. Bitcoin's been kind of soft because a lot of the action moved away from Bitcoin. But if you had told someone 4 months ago that you're going to be nervous with Bitcoin at 112, they would have had a big grin on their face, right? And so you have to keep things in context. We're still up significantly on the year, both Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana.
Speaking of keeping
and XRP
things in context, a lot of people have been saying that crypto price movement.
Okay, we had big news coming yesterday. Here's Brad Garlinghouse. Look, I don't think it's a coincidence they put him on the very other side to the Tether CEO. This represents complete 1,000% transparency. This represents Tether's history that you're not allowed to look into. That's why they had to create a new stable coin for the U.S. because can't look there. Crypto Sprint CFTC launch. Folks, Kendra Hill said it a long time ago. XRP has always been about derivatives. That's where this story ends, is handling the derivatives market. CFTC launches Tokenized Collateral and Stablecoins initiative with industry partners. Its killer app to modernize markets and make dollars work smarter and go further, unleashing a U.S. economic growth by lowering costs. Folks, you're talking about trillions of dollars in transactions, and they're going to, and RLUSD is involved. Little reminder here, no Bitcoin will be burned on the trillions of dollars of RLUSD transactions in the derivatives market, but XRP will, every single one of them, folks. Some XRP will be burned forever. It was never Bitcoin. And then Bank XRP says CFTC Chair Pham has announced an initiative to let stablecoins be used as tokenized collateral for the first time in the U.S. derivatives market. Here it is. And then you got this. Brad Combs had put this out. Ripple and RLUSD are about to tap into the $400 trillion derivatives market. Lock in. And I said, sounds like that XRP burn is about to go in overdrive. And then there's also this going on. Vet's pointing out, pay attention here. Because remember, folks, what Kendra Hill said is that Ripple, the reason they were focused on cross-border payments is that they didn't have smart contracts yet. They were working on Codius, and that's what they were waiting for. Well, just because it's not called Codius now, does not mean it's not smart contracts by another name. Right here, he says, pay attention here. Programmability is coming to the XRP ledger in many ways. Dennis working on XLS 101D that is full smart contract capabilities on the XRP ledger. Now Mayuko with 6 DevNet update for smart escrows, smart extensions. So it's coming. So what I did is I put this out, because it's not hard to figure out where the XRP price is going to go. It's always been about derivatives, strategic supply, that XRP strategic weapon, as David Schwartz called it, and then the burn mechanism on XRP. I'll be getting more XRP while I still can. So I showed Brad Combs' tweet about the 400 trillion in derivatives, and then Vet's smart contracts, and then this is the clip I put out yesterday, where Axelar and Flare are talking about how much they're hoping to lock up in the XRP with their yield. So you've got supply, you've got the stage is set for supply shock, and the stage is also set for the burn rate on XRP to accelerate. with all these transactions. And then here's what Kendra Hill said. The true intentions of Ripple are to handle 100% of the transactions which take place in the derivatives market. So why do they not make this public knowledge? For multiple reasons. The most important one being they're not ready. They're missing the piece of the puzzle. That piece is CODIUS. That's what smart contracts originally were going to be called on for the XRP ledger. It's evolved, and you can see where this is going. Now, I got a lot more to talk about in DAIXRP.com. That's the Patreon. If you'd rather join through YouTube, click join below any of these YouTube videos. If you'd rather join through X, hit subscribe. I do the full video plus extended videos, and we do no commercials. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. Away we go.